Good evening. Ella Baker, a giant of the civil rights movement, left us with this wisdom. Give people light, and they will find the way. Give people. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis. Remember seeing those Klansmen. Coming out of fields with lighted torches, veins bulging, spewing the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. Remember the violent clash that ensued between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. And remember what the president said when asked? He said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. It was a wake-up call for us as a country. And for me, a call to act.
Love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate. And to discriminate only generates hate. And when you hate, then your body get irate. Yeah, madness is what you demonstrate. And that's exactly how hate works and operates. Man, you gotta have love, but to set it straight. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love.
People, where is the love?
The question for us is simple. Are we ready? I believe we are. We must be. We can choose a path of becoming angrier, less hopeful, more divided, a path of shadow and suspicion, or we can choose a different path and together take this chance to heal, to reform, to unite, a path of hope and light. This is a life-changing election. This will determine what America is going to look like for a long, long time.
Yes, it is.
Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency, science, democracy.
Yeah.
They're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be. That's all on the ballot. And the choice could not be more clear.
Welcome to this Biden-Harris campaign event, Minnesota Digital Barnstorm with Senator Bernie Sanders. Please welcome Emily Polston.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Emily Polston. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Minnesota Youth Folk Director. I can't state enough what an honor and a privilege it is to get to work with the young people in Minnesota. They organize some of the highest voter turnout in the country. And organizing during a pandemic is not easy. They have been incredibly tenacious and creative in the ways in which they're organizing their communities, using our traditional methods such as, phone calling, text banking, friend banking, but even beyond that, marching folks to the polls, making sure that, they're tabling outside of their university, socially distanced, of course, and in a safe manner, hosting ballot bowls. Go Gophers. We beat the UW-Madison Badgers the other day. And just today, getting the message that they are turning classrooms into GOTV action centers. The work that you all are doing is incredible. It's what's going to make us successful in the next 3 days. And I'm incredibly proud to do this work alongside you. So please keep it up. If you have yet to sign up for a friend bank, a phone bank, a text bank, please do it. We'd be happy to have you join our team and our family. But it brings me great pleasure to get to turn it over to one of our incredible organizers, Faisa Ahmed.
Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and Muslim brothers and sisters. My name is Faisa Ahmed. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently an organizer for Senator Tina Smith, formerly was on Mitra Jalali's campaign for city council, and organized at the University of Minnesota with Coalition for Progressive Change in 2018. Just a quick explanation as to why I got into organizing. I was born and raised on the south side of Minneapolis to two new immigrant parents, trying so hard to navigate a foreign country with a toddler and two teenagers in a homeless shelter. They did not speak a word of English away from everyone they've ever known. This year, as I stood in the voting booth, I was thinking about having to navigate post 9/11 America as a visible hijab wearing Muslim. I remember having to sit in class. I remembered having to sit in class looking at exit points just in case. I was thinking of my mother who had to flee her home in a matter of hours when the war began. When your whole existence is political, your political awakening is at birth. There isn't a choice between voting or not this year. We need to elect people that will listen to our lived experiences, acknowledge that climate change is an existential crisis, someone that believes that no one should be banned from this country just because they pray to a different God. Thursday's night's court decision should light a fire underneath all of us. Look at how hard they're trying to take away our right to vote. With 3 more days left, we need to make sure that we go out to vote. We tell our families, our roommates, our friends, and everyone we know how important this election is. This is a choice between another 4 years of this chaos we're living under right now, or an administration that values basic decency and human rights. Please make the right choice and go and vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faisa. It's an honor to be in this fight with you. And we're definitely going to get it done in 3 days here. Our next speaker that I have the pleasure of introducing is the Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison was sworn in as Minnesota's 30th Attorney General on January 7th of 2019. And as the people's lawyer, Attorney General Ellison's job is to help Minnesotans afford their lives and live with dignity, safety, and respect. His guiding values are generosity and inclusion. It is my honor to introduce Progressive Champion Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Thank you, Emily and Faisa. And it's great to see Jeremy Messerschmidt out there. What a treat you guys are in for. That man knows what to do with that guitar, man. Anyway, let me just say that I believe that Biden, Harris are going to take great action on climate, wages, unions, immigration, justice, going to stand up for everybody, human rights, civil rights. That's what's going on. But I also want to say this to you, and I say this to my progressive friends, and I say those to those folks who were Bernie supporters as I was and remain. If you're waiting for the candidate of your dreams, what about your advocacy? What about you? What about your imagination? If you're picking somebody you think is going to solve every problem and is going to be perfect, then that leaves no space for you to get involved, to get engaged, to lift your voice up, to help others find their voice. So let me just say, yes, of course, we got to win on Tuesday. That means we need you. That means we need to organize. That means you to reach out to people. That means we need you to get every single living soul you can to the polls so that we can win this election. But after that, it just means we're going to have to continue to stand up for what we believe in, make the arguments that we believe in, make the case that we know needs to be made when it comes to economic justice, green justice, when it comes to civil and human rights for all people, respect and dignity for everybody. The fight doesn't continue. I've long believed that too often we put too much emphasis on the election. Now, the Olympics, we got to win the election, no doubt, but there's more at stake than the election. We've got to win the election, but then we can use the election to organize people after the election to build a better America. We don't stop on November 3rd. We really just getting started on November 3rd. And I just want to tell you, couldn't be happier to be with the awesome advocates on this call. I can't wait to hear Jeremy. And I'm really looking forward to hearing my good friend and your good friend, remember, not me, us, Bernie Sanders. Thank you.
Well, let me thank Keith Ellison, not only for being a great attorney general in Minnesota, but for his years in the United States Congress. Keith and I worked side by side fighting for a progressive agenda. And I miss him very much in Washington, but I know he is more than compensating for that by doing a great job in Minnesota as Attorney General. And let me thank all of those who helped organize this important event. I don't have to tell anybody that 4 years ago, the election in Minnesota was extremely close. And Trump has some thoughts that he may win this time around. And our job, and the job of every person in Minnesota, is to make sure that that does not happen. I know that folks, when they turn on the television, they hear all these pundits saying, this is the most important election in our lifetimes. Well, actually, for once, the pundits got it right. This is the most important election, not only in our lifetimes, but in the modern history of America. And I will tell you why, if I might. The election is obviously about the economy. And on one hand, we have a candidate in Joe Biden who wants to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. He wants equal pay for equal work so that women don't make 70, 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. He wants to make it easier for workers to join unions. He wants to create millions of good-paying union jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. That's our roads and our bridges and our tunnels and our wastewater plants and our water systems, and affordable housing, which is a crisis from one end of this country to the other. That's what Joe wants to do. And I want you to think, what has Trump done in those areas in the last 4 years? Does he want to raise the minimum wage? Not a chance. He believe in equal pay for equal work? No, he does not. Does he want to rebuild the infrastructure? Well, he talks a good game, but he's been president for 4 years. We've not passed one piece of legislation to do that. So the economy is very important. But what about education? And I know we got a lot of young people in Minnesota and their parents who are concerned about education. Well, one of the candidates believes that we need to have universal child care because currently our child care system is a total disaster. It's unaffordable for working families, and the workers in child care are earning disastrous wages. So one of the candidates wants universal affordable child care. One of the candidates wants to see us have universal pre-K education for 3 and 4 year olds, for every 3 and 4 year old in America. One of the candidates for president understands how hard it is for the young people in Minnesota to get a college education because of the high cost of education, and knows how many students are leaving school deeply in debt. So you got one of the candidates, Joe Biden, who wants to make public colleges and universities tuition free for working class families. Wants to make HBCUs tuition free. Wants to make trade schools tuition free because he understands that it is imperative that we have the best educated workforce in the world. And he wants to make a significant step forward in canceling student debt in America, which is very, very important for so many of our people. Now, one of the candidates for president understands that healthcare is a human right and that we've got to expand healthcare to cover all people. And that we cannot continue to pay, in some cases, 10 times more for prescription drugs as the people of other countries. That's Joe Biden. He gets that. Well, Donald Trump, I have to confess, Donald Trump does have a health care plan. And he's been fighting for that plan for years. And that plan is to repeal the Affordable Care Act and to throw 22 million people off the health care that they have. Wow, what a plan that is. And one of the candidates understands that climate change is not only real and caused by human activity, but it is an existential threat to not only our country, but the entire planet. Take a look at what's happening in California, in Colorado, what's happened on the West Coast, what's happened in Australia, what's happening in Europe. He understands that we have to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And that when you do that, and he has a $2 trillion investment, $2 trillion in Washington, even in Washington, that's a lot of money. And that will create millions more jobs transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel. Donald Trump also has some thoughts on climate change. He thinks it's a hoax. And his activities over the last 4 years have made a bad situation worse by expanding fossil fuel development in America. And one of the candidates out there understands that we have a major crisis in this country in terms of systemic racism and police brutality. And he intends to do everything he can as president to address that crisis. And he understands that we have an immigration system which is completely broken. And he is early on going to make sure that we restore legal rights to the 1.8 million young people in the DACA program and move toward comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship for all undocumented people. That's one candidate. The other candidate seems to get a lot of pleasure out of separating hundreds and hundreds of young people from their parents. Today, their parents don't even know where their kids are. Unbelievable, cruel, horrible. Not something Biden will deal with. And the other candidate, Donald Trump, thinks it's okay to put children in cages and to demonize the undocumented in this country. So you got huge differences on the issues that impact the lives of the American people. And all of that is enormously important. But let me tell you something that's even more important. One candidate, and I know this sounds like a really radical idea, one candidate actually believes in science. Ooh-wee. How radical can you get? And understands that if we're going to be able to deal with this pandemic, what we need to do is have a protocol and guidelines coming from Washington to help the 50 states in the country, to help cities and towns all over America with the best scientific knowledge that is available from leaders, scientists in our country and around the world. That's what Joe Biden believes. And you got another candidate out there who from day one has downplayed the pandemic, has turned his back on science, has actually gone out of his way to attack people like Dr. Fauci, who is working night and day to try to educate the American people so that we don't come down with this terrible virus. And you got a president, the leader of our country, who, as we speak, literally today, I imagine, is holding rallies around the country. Thousands of people are coming out. Many of them are not wearing masks, and there is no social distancing. They are spreading the virus. This is the protocol. This is the model of the President of the United States. Does anybody in their right mind think we're going to get a handle on this pandemic when we have a president who has that attitude? And we got a president who is a pathological liar. And I say this with no joy in my heart. He lies all of the time, and he's lying today unbelievably. Yesterday, we had more people, close to 100,000 people diagnosed with the virus. And Trump goes around the country saying, we are turning the corner. What world is he living in? And it's not just that the lies are disgraceful. When you lie like that, you cannot get a handle on the crisis. So we need somebody in the White House who believes in science with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic, who believes in science with regard to climate change. But I want to tell you something else as to why I personally believe this is the most important election, not only in our lifetimes, but in the modern history of this country, maybe going back, way back to 1864, middle of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln's reelection. And that is, we have a president today who does not believe in democracy. A president whose party, Republican Party, as we speak, doing everything they can to suppress the vote. Now, we have, as a nation, one of the lowest voter turnout rates of any major country on earth. What you would think is that serious political people would say, look, we disagree, but in a democracy, we want everybody to vote. We're going to make their case. I've, run for election in Vermont many, many times. And I don't go out of my way to try to suppress the vote from people who may be voting against me. I try to convince them of my point of view. And that's what politics in a democracy is about. Right now, you have a Republican Party that is working overtime to figure out how do we keep young people and people of color and poor people from participating? How do we make it more difficult? How do we discourage them? How do we intimidate them? And how, after ballots are cast, how do we do our best to eliminate and not count ballots that might be going to Joe Biden? We have a president of the United States, when asked on television, will you leave office if you lose the election? And he says, well, I'm not sure about that. Depends. So what I say to all of my friends in Minnesota, and that is whether you're progressive, as Keith Ellison and I are, whether you're moderate, whether you're conservative, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, we cannot have a president who is undermining American democracy. And by the way, that is why a number of Republicans have come out. People have nothing in common with my views or Keith's views, but they are coming out for Biden because they understand the great threat that Trump is to our democracy. So we've got 3 days left to go in this election. And what I would ask of all of you is not only make sure that you have voted or will vote, but make sure that your friends, your family, your coworkers, your fellow students do that. Now, I know that sometimes it is uncomfortable, to say to a friend, hey, have you voted yet? And, come on, you got to go out and vote. I'll go with you. It's a little bit uncomfortable. But I would suggest to you that it will be a lot more uncomfortable for you if you wake up on Wednesday morning and Donald Trump wins Minnesota by a few votes. So deal with your discomfort now, not after the election. And let us do everything that we can, not only to elect Joe Biden as president. You got a great senator there in Tina Smith. Let's make sure that she returns to the Senate. We need her voice very, very much. So thank you all for who have organized this event. Let's go out together and let's win this enormously important election. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Senator Sanders, for being here with us today. I remember attending my first caucus in 2016 in my at my university in small town Kansas and getting to caucus for you. So it's a pleasure to have you. And thank you for your work to pursue progressive and human-centered work. We're excited to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Now I have the pleasure of turning it over to a very special musical guest, right out of Minneapolis, our very own Jeremy Messersmith.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Mr. Sanders. And Keith, good to see you as well. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I'm going to play a few songs for you now. This one, well, there's a saying that good artists borrow and great artists steal. And I stole this one straight up from the late, great Senator Paul Wellstone. So here we go. Thank you very much. This next one I'd like to do is just a little ditty about how good the future can be. I think that the first step to a better world is just to be able to imagine a better world. And I thought, what better way to help on days when you may need it than to write a little ditty to get stuck in your head forever. So here we go. Gotta say the future's awesome. Everything you say okay. All the work is done by robots, and every day is Saturday. Future people all have jetpacks, fly around in flying cars. There's so much that I could tell you, but the coolest part by far, everybody gets a kitten, a new one every single day. Everybody gets a kitten that you can name if you want, or you can give it away. There is no disease or hunger, zero poverty or war. Life is just a giant party. No one here is ever bored. And all the factories burn rainbows. You can buy a house on Mars. There's so much that I could tell you, but the coolest part by far, everybody gets a kitten, a new one every single day. Everybody gets a kitten, and you can name if you want or not. Everybody gets a kitten, a new one every single day. Everybody gets a kitten that you can name if you want. You can give it away. Thanks, everybody. Go vote.
Hello, everybody. My name is Manjari Majumdar. Thank you to Jeremy Messersmith for that wonderful performance. We're just going to go into a friend banking event now. So let me just share my screen, and myself and my friend Catherine, who